Around 7 years back, when I was celebrating the end of a major project, a mentor told me, Rohan, you are smart, but you need to be more interesting. You need to have a passion in life. I was surprised by the comment. What was my passion? How do I find my passion? And wait a minute, before we go down that route, what did passion even mean? I literally spent a whole day just thinking about that, and I drew a blank. Nothing at all. And then I came across a quote by Robin Williams from Dead Poets Society. Robin said, and I quote, the human race is filled with passion. Medicine, law, business, engineering, these are noble pursuits and necessary to sustain life. But poetry, beauty, romance, love, these are what we truly stay alive for. That moment was a wake up call for me. I was living my life completely immersed in academics, focused on charting out a great career path, which is not wrong, but I realized I was losing out on so many aspects in life. I thought for a moment, could I call academics my passion? After all, many researchers are extremely passionate about their area of interest. But in my heart of hearts, I knew that I was just kidding myself. For me, academics was simply a means to an end and not something that truly defined me. And that is when I decided to explore as many facets of life as I could in pursuit of my passion. In the past 7 years, I have done exactly that. I had never traveled outside India. In the past 7 years, I have been to 32 countries, most of them being solo backpacking trips on a tight budget. And I can't even begin to recount the experiences, be it spending a whole night chatting with a refugee in Geneva, hiking across the Alps along the border of Germany and Austria, having delicious hot chocolate in the foothills of Slovenia, walking the corridors of the Game of Thrones landmarks in Croatia, spending a new year partying all night long with a bunch of absolutely crazy Hungarians, and so many more memories. Traveling has taught me more about life than books ever could. Believe me, when you travel, you realize how large and diverse the world really is, and how small a place you occupy in this world. You realize that at the end of the day, you are nothing but a speck of dust in this world. I had never imagined myself as a traveler. But once I started traveling, I realized I had always been an explorer at heart. And that is when I found my first passion. A couple of years back, I realized why restrict my love for traveling just to the land covered areas? I decided to enroll for the open water diver certification in Cambodia. Yes, scuba diving. Why scuba? I was asked on the first day of the course. And I couldn't help but realize that I had always been attracted to the seas. In all of my travels, I had spent a major amount of time either on cruises or just sitting near the lakes and beaches in Europe, gazing at the sea. Scuba introduced me to a hidden world which was so close yet so far. When you actually go deep inside the sea and find yourself surrounded by fishes and other marine animals, you realize you have entered a completely different world. You simply can't help but smile when the fishes come near your face and look at you with curiosity. I realized that the marine world is not just beautiful, but adventurous, wild, and free. And that's all I ever wanted to be. And with that, I'd found my second passion. During one of my trips, when I was in Frankfurt, a few Spanish friends decided to attend a salsa event happening in a pub, and they just dragged me with them. I had never danced in my life, not even in family functions. In fact, I used to actually run away at the mere mention of dancing. But that one night introduced me to a world of Latin music and dance beats. I realized how much I enjoyed salsa, and I decided to start learning salsa right away. I trained in salsa for a couple of years, and I also attended salsa festivals all over the world. In fact, I also started learning bachata, kizumba, and even attended a few workshops in ballroom dancing. Just imagine me doing ballroom dancing. I'd never thought I would find my passion in dancing. But if I think back now, I simply cannot imagine my life without dance. In fact, I look forward to the weekends when I can actually dance to my heart's content. In fact, a couple of years back, I also participated in the India International Dance Congress with dancers from all over the world. From somebody who used to shy away from dancing, even in family functions, to somebody who was dancing and competing on stage, life has definitely taken a full U turn. And just like that, before I knew it, I'd found my third passion. I'd always been a reader, but a few years back, I discovered my love for writing. The journey started with sharing my travel stories and life experiences on a platform called Quora. To my surprise, I received an enormous amount of love on the platform. So much that I ended up sharing my experiences on other social media platforms as well, like LinkedIn and Instagram. And actually, just a few months back, I decided to take my writing journey even further by penning down my first novel, The Promises We Made. From somebody who was always immersed in books to somebody who has now published a romantic novel, this has been a journey of a lifetime. And yes, a journey that started with an innocent sharing of my experiences on Quora has now turned into my fourth passion. You heard it right. 7 years back, I had embarked on a journey in pursuit of my passion, and I ended up finding passions worth a lifetime without affecting my career in the slightest. How did that happen? Let me break down the ambiguous concept of passion in the form of three practical steps that all of you can follow to discover your passions. Step number one, be ready to experiment. All of us have a comfort zone, and there's a very natural resistance against moving out of that zone. Believe me, I can completely relate to it. I had never traveled alone before, and especially not outside India. I used to be someone who would prefer sitting in my room reading a book as compared to talking to strangers. It took a lot of courage for me to venture outside my comfort zone and take that first step towards traveling 7 years back when I went to Switzerland for my internship. And believe me, that one trip opened a world of possibilities for me. I realized that contrary to what I had initially imagined, I really loved hanging out with strangers in exotic places and making new friends from all over the world. A pro tip if you are ever planning to travel, stay in hostels with other travelers. And there's so much more you will learn about history, culture, and life. Let me share another example. Like I mentioned, I had never ever danced before. I used to run away from dancing. I decided to experiment with the Latin dance forms, and today I simply cannot stay away from dancing. Of all the activities in the world, I had never thought I would find a passion in dancing, and that's only because I decided to experiment with dancing. If you haven't discovered your passion yet, the chances are that the passion might lie outside your comfort zone. Be ready to experiment with new activities, and you might just discover your passion. Take a pledge today that you would try at least two new activities every year, and I guarantee you that you will discover your passion. Step number two, give time for your passions to develop. An activity does not become a passion until you actually spend enough time pursuing the activity. Just as love at first sight is a myth, passion at first sight is also a myth. You might like an activity the first time you try it, but until you actually take out enough time to pursue that activity, you might find yourself either losing interest or feeling frustrated. A couple of years back, I was in a phase where I was absolutely loaded with work. I had not danced for weeks, and I found myself getting burned out and frustrated. At one point of time, I simply decided to take a sabbatical for 45 days and travel to Europe. 45 days. I had absolutely no agenda in mind, apart from spending those 45 days visiting the fjords of Nordics and attending salsa festivals in every country. I actually spent 10 days in a scenic little town in Croatia called Rovinj, where thousands of dancers from all over the world had come to just dance salsa all day and all night. In fact, those 45 days of sabbatical gave me memories for a lifetime. And that was possible only because I took out enough time to actually discover and rediscover my passions. Let me share another example. When I had first decided to participate in the India International Dance Congress a couple of years back, for 2 months, my dance partner and I sacrificed our sleep to take out time to practice. Both of us were working in tough corporate jobs, which did not leave enough time during the day to practice. We would practice early in the morning, just before leaving for office, and late in the night after coming back from office. And we did that every single day for 2 whole months. Looking back now, those 2 months have been some of my most memorable times. Give time for your passions to develop, and you will find yourself loving each step of the journey. Step number 3, persist against all odds. An activity also does not become a passion if you do not persist. When I first started writing on Quora, I had 0 followers and 0 views on my content. The first few posts did not receive any response, but I still continued writing. 7 years down the line, my content on Quora has received more than 30 million views. Yes, from 0 to 30 million views. It all became possible because I persisted. The thought of writing a novel had first cropped up in my mind a couple of years back, and I had actually even started writing the novel, but then I hit the writer's block. I became busy with my work, and the writing went on a back seat. Until one day I realized I was doing a grave injustice to myself by keeping myself away from my novel. I started setting daily goals for myself to write a few hundred words every day and a few thousand words every weekend, and I adhered to those goals. Learning any activity is going to take time and effort, especially if you want to excel in that activity. On the first day of my scuba diving course, I ended up failing miserably. I was breathing too fast inside the water, which ended up depleting the oxygen in my cylinder at a much faster pace. As a result, while others could spend a full hour inside water, I had to come out of the water after just 30 minutes. But you know what? I did not give up. I persisted and I started actually controlling my breathing speed. And on the last day of the course, I succeeded. Persist against all odds, and you will be able to master any activity. And once you do that, before you know it, you would have discovered your passion. Passion, while it might sound like a fantasy, is actually not that difficult to discover if you really follow these 3 very practical steps. Be ready to experiment beyond your comfort zone, give time for your passions to develop, and persist against all odds to emerge as a winner. So, what are you waiting for? Go out there and discover your passion. And while you do that, if we ever happen to cross paths during the journey, I would love to hear your story. Thank you.